The Galactic Conclave had stood for 9,000 years, a monument to cooperation among the 37 spacefaring species. Until the Draven hegemony arrived. Their warships blackened the skies of 17 worlds before anyone could mount an effective response. Led by Warlord Kovex, the Dravens conquered without mercy, their biological superiority and crystalline battle armor seemingly unbeatable. Commander Alara Thorne watched the hollow projections with narrowed eyes. Earth's diplomatic team had been summoned by the desperate conclave as a last resort. Humans were newcomers to the galactic stage, barely 2 centuries into faster-than-light travel, and viewed as primitive curiosities by most alien species. But they possessed something the others didn't, an evolutionary history of relentless adaptability. "They want me to negotiate with the Warlord?" Alara asked incredulously. The same Warlord who executed the Polarian ambassadors and sent their remains back in specimen jars. Admiral Rexton nodded grimly. The Conclave believes an envoy from an unaligned species might survive long enough to establish dialogue. Our intelligence indicates the Dravens respect physical strength above all. Alara studied the Warlord's file. Kovex stood 3 meters tall, with skin like volcanic obsidian and 6 muscular arms, each capable of crushing titanium. His species evolved on a death world with triple Earth's gravity and toxic atmosphere. "I'm supposed to impress this?" she asked, gesturing to the Warlord's image. "Not with your muscles, Commander. With this." The Admiral placed a small device on the table. Project Prometheus. Our ace in the hole. The innocuous silver disc contained humanity's most advanced technology, nanites programmed to adapt to any hostile environment or attack. The Promethean nanites had been developed after Earth's near destruction in the Martian colony wars, where humanity had learned hard lessons about survival. "Your mission isn't to win a war, Commander. It's to convince the Dravens that conquering humanity would cost too much. Make them respect us enough to negotiate." 3 weeks later, Alara's diplomatic vessel approached the massive Draven flagship, Inevitable Dominion. Beside her stood her mission team. Dr. Tariq Nasser, xenobiologist, Lieutenant Orion Blackwood, security specialist, and Vega Moreau, linguistic savant whose brain had been partially rewired to process alien communication patterns. "Final approach," reported the pilot, Maddox Quinn, his hands steady despite the sweat beading on his forehead. "They're scanning us intensively." Alara felt the Promethean nanites warming against her skin where they'd been injected. The microscopic machines had been mapping her biology for days, preparing contingencies. "Remember," said Dr. Nasser, "the Dravens evolved from apex predators. They respond to dominance displays, not submission." The diplomatic vessel docked with a shudder. Outside the airlock, a delegation of Draven warriors waited, their crystalline armor gleaming under harsh lights. Each stood taller than the tallest human, their 4 eyes glowing amber beneath ridged brows. "Let's make a first impression they won't forget," Alara said, straightening her unadorned diplomatic uniform. No weapons, no armor, just a human facing the galaxy's most feared conquerors, with nothing but wit, courage, and invisible machines in her bloodstream. The airlock hissed open, and Commander Alara Thorne stepped forward to meet the representatives of a species that had already decimated 17 worlds. Behind her, humanity held its breath. The Draven escort moved with predatory grace through the cavernous corridors of the Inevitable Dominion. Alara noted everything: the ship's bone-like architecture, the absence of chairs or rest areas, the subtle vibrations underfoot suggesting massive weapon systems. The lead guard, whom Alara mentally nicknamed Scarface for the jagged crystalline growth across his features, kept all 4 eyes trained on her. "Your species is small," he finally spoke, translator implants converting his resonant growls into comprehensible words. "We studied your broadcasts. You fight each other constantly. Weak predators often do." "We haven't exterminated ourselves yet," Alara replied evenly. "That suggests we're doing something right." The audience chamber was a massive arena ringed with viewing platforms. Hundreds of Dravens looked down at the human delegation with coldly analytical eyes. At the center, upon a raised dais of what appeared to be polished bone, sat Warlord Kavex. He was even more imposing than the projections. His crystalline armor didn't merely cover him, it seemed to grow from him, merging with obsidian flesh at the joints. All 6 of his muscular arms were in constant, subtle motion, like a spider testing the vibrations of its web. The human diplomatic team announced a Draven official, representatives of Earth and its colonies. Kavex's voice rumbled through the chamber like distant thunder. I expected your military leaders, not unarmed soft bodies. Does humanity mock the hegemony with this insult? Ilara stepped forward before her team could react. Warlord Kavex, I am Commander Ilara Thorn, appointed Envoy of Earth. In my culture, sending warriors to talk peace would be the insult. We face you openly, without weapons or armor, as equals at this table. A ripple of hissing, Draven laughter echoed through the chamber. Equals. The warlord rose to his full height. Your species is barely space-capable. The Conclave treats you as curiosities, not equals. What could you possibly offer the hegemony except swift surrender? Knowledge, Ilara replied, of why 17 conquered worlds haven't made you stronger, only more vulnerable. The chamber went deadly silent. Even Kavex's constant motion stilled momentarily. You speak boldly for prey, he said softly. Demonstrate your worth, human, or become an example. One of the warlord's lieutenants stepped forward, a hulking Draven with armor that seemed to pulse with internal light. My lord, permit me to test the human's resolve. Without waiting for a response, the lieutenant lunged toward Ilara with shocking speed. Dr. Nasser shouted a warning, but Ilara had already moved, her body responding with reflexes heightened by the Promethean nanites. She sidestepped the attack, using the Draven's momentum against him. It wasn't enough. One of his secondary arms grabbed her throat and lifted her off the ground. Is this humanity's great diplomat? The lieutenant snarled. Ilara felt the nanites activating, a warm flush spreading through her muscles as they reinforced tissue and bone. With strength that surprised even her, she broke the Draven's grip and dropped to the floor. I came to talk, she gasped, but I can demonstrate instead. The lieutenant attacked again, this time with all 6 arms coordinated in a deadly assault. Ilara moved with preternatural speed, dodging and deflecting blows that should have pulverized her. The nanites were adapting in real time, analyzing the Draven's attack patterns and optimizing her responses. When she finally struck back, her blow connected with the lieutenant's torso with enough force to crack his crystalline armor. The chamber erupted in shocked exclamations. The lieutenant staggered backward, green ichor seeping from the fracture. Impossible, he hissed. Kavex's laughter filled the arena. Perhaps this human is worthy of words after all. He gestured to his wounded lieutenant. Enough, Drako. The envoy has made her point. Ilara stood straight, controlling her breathing though her body screamed for oxygen. The nanites were consuming her energy reserves at an alarming rate. Now, said the warlord, leaning forward with genuine interest, tell me why my conquests make me vulnerable, little human. I'm suddenly very curious to hear. Conquering is easy, Ilara said, her voice carrying through the now attentive chamber. Ruling is the challenge. She wiped a trickle of blood from her lip where she'd bitten it during the fight. Behind her, Ori and Blackwood tensed, ready to intervene despite the impossibility of winning against so many Dravens. Vega Moreau's eyes darted around, analyzing the subtle shifts in body language among their hosts. The conclave worlds you've taken remain in chaos, Ilara continued. Resistance movements grow stronger each day. You're spreading your forces thinner with each conquest, creating more fronts to defend. Kavex tilted his massive head. You speak of matters you cannot know. I speak of patterns that repeat throughout history, Ilara countered. My species has fought thousands of wars among ourselves. The lesson is always the same. Empires fall when they expand too quickly. The warlord descended from his dais, approaching Ilara with deliberate steps. Each footfall resonated through the deck plates. Up close, she could see the complex latticework of his crystalline armor, alive with microscopic movements. Follow, he commanded abruptly, turning toward a side chamber. Alara glanced at her team. Vega gave a small nod. The Warlord's tone indicated this was not a hostile action, at least not immediately. The smaller chamber contained what appeared to be a three-dimensional strategic display. Glowing points of light represented star systems, with Draven-controlled territories highlighted in crimson. "Your demonstration of strength has earned you this audience," Kavek said. "Now demonstrate your intelligence." The conquest of the Polarian systems has indeed created complications. He gestured to several flashing points on the map. "Their network defense grid continues to resist our control protocols." Alara studied the display, recognizing the trap. "You want my insights on how to overcome their defenses?" "Consider it a test," the Warlord replied, her eyes blinking in sequence. "Solve this tactical problem, and perhaps humanity deserves consideration as more than just another conquest." Dr. Nasser cleared his throat. "Commander, we should." "I understand," Alara interrupted smoothly. "A game of strategy, then." She approached the display, feeling the nanites in her bloodstream, analyzing her stress responses, optimizing her cognitive functions. The Promethean project had been designed not just for physical enhancement, but for mental acuity under pressure. "The Polarians rely on distributed processing," she observed. "You've been trying to seize control nodes sequentially, but their system adapts too quickly." Kavex watched her intently. "Continue. I won't help you crush them more efficiently," Alara said firmly. "But I will show you why this approach bleeds your resources." She manipulated the display, highlighting supply lines and garrison requirements. "Each conquered system requires occupation forces. Each occupation force requires supply lines. Each supply line needs protection. Your conquest creates a cascade of vulnerabilities." For nearly an hour, she demonstrated the mathematical inevitability of imperial overreach, using the Draven's own tactical data against them. The nanites helped her process information at accelerated rates, identifying patterns even the Warlord strategists had missed. When she finished, the chamber was silent. Kavex studied her with newfound intensity. "You fight differently than the conclave species," he finally said. "They plead ethics and civilization. You speak of practical realities." One of his secondary arms produced a small, glowing orb. "This contains data on our next targeted worlds. Tell me which we should avoid, and why." It was another test, more dangerous than the first. The right answer might spare billions of lives. The wrong answer would reveal Earth's defensive capabilities. "I need to consult with my team," Alara said. The Warlord nodded once. "1 standard hour. Then you will dine at my table and provide your analysis." As the humans were escorted to temporary quarters, Lieutenant Blackwood whispered, "Commander, this is beyond our mission parameters." "No," Alara replied quietly. "This is exactly our mission. The Warlord is testing us, trying to determine whether humans are worth negotiating with or simply conquering. And I intend to pass his test in a way he doesn't expect." Back in their quarters, Dr. Nasser monitored the Promethean nanites' activity in Alara's system. "They're consuming resources rapidly. You can't sustain this level of enhancement for more than a few days." Alara nodded grimly. "Then we'd better make them count." The Draven feasting hall resembled a gladiatorial arena more than a banquet room. Low tables formed concentric circles around a central pit where what appeared to be living prey animals were contained. The air was thick with pheromones and the metallic tang of alien spices. Alara and her team were led to a position of prominence near Kavex's elevated table. Around them, high-ranking Dravens watched with predatory curiosity. Their translator implants processed the overlapping conversations, mostly discussions of conquest, hunting prowess, and speculation about the humans' capabilities. "They're displaying us," murmured Vega Moro, "like exotic specimens." "Good," Alara replied. "Let them underestimate us." Kavex's arrival silenced the chamber. The Warlord moved with surprising grace for his size, 6 arms gleaming with ceremonial bands of crystalline metal. Behind him followed a procession of warriors bearing trophies, artifacts from conquered worlds. "The human envoy honors us with her presence," the Warlord announced. Today she demonstrated both strength and cunning. Now she will share our ritual feast and present her analysis of our conquest strategy. Servants approached with steaming platters of food. The offerings before the humans were clearly selected for shock value. Writhing invertebrates, pulsing organomeats, and bioluminescent fungi that changed colors when touched. Alara understood the game immediately. She selected one of the most alarming-looking specimens, a purple tentacle still flexing autonomically, and consumed it without hesitation. The nanites in her system neutralized any potentially harmful compounds, while her face remained impassive. Kavex's expression shifted to what might have been approval. Your species adapts quickly. It's our defining characteristic, Alara replied, accepting a goblet of smoking liquid. Which brings me to your tactical question. She produced the data orb the Warlord had given her. With a gesture, she activated it, projecting a stellar map between them. Several systems were highlighted as potential Draven targets. Of these 8 systems, 3 would become quagmires for your forces, she said confidently. Not because of military strength, but because of environmental factors your troops cannot easily overcome. She highlighted the Taurus Reach, the Scylla Nebula, and the Eridani Confluence, all regions with unique properties that would challenge even the adaptable Dravens. The Scylla Nebula's radiation would degrade your crystalline armor within days, she explained. The Taurus Reach contains spores that would infiltrate your respiratory systems. And the Eridani Confluence's gravimetric anomalies would disrupt your fleet formations. Kavex studied the projections intently. You speak as if you have first-hand knowledge of these places. Humans explore before we conquer, Alara said. We've lost explorers to each of these regions. Their final transmissions taught us valuable lessons. It was a calculated risk. Revealing the humans had explored these distant regions might elevate humanity's status in Draven eyes, but it also exposed the extent of human expansion. As the feast progressed, Draven commanders approached to challenge Alara with tactical scenarios and provocative questions. The nanites helped her process information rapidly, formulating responses that demonstrated human resilience without revealing critical weaknesses. During a lull in conversation, Lieutenant Blackwood whispered, "Commander, security patrol patterns suggest their primary weapons control is 3 decks below us. If we could access it." "We're not here to sabotage," Alara interrupted softly. "We're here to establish respect." Kavex rose suddenly, silencing the hall. "The human envoy has provided valuable insights. Now we shall honor her with the trial of dominion." The central pit's floor retracted, revealing a larger arena below. Within it stood a massive creature, resembling a cross between an earth rhinoceros and a mantis shrimp, its armored hide covered in bioluminescent patterns. "The Carver is an apex predator from our homeworld," Kavex announced. "Each hegemony commander must subdue one to prove their worthiness to lead. Tonight, Commander Thorn will demonstrate humanity's strength or become the Carver's meal." Alara felt the room's attention fix on her, hundreds of predatory eyes watching for her reaction. This was the true test, not the strategic analysis, but how she would face the Draven's most sacred trial. The Carver's roar shook dust from the chamber's ornate ceiling. Standing at the edge of the pit, Alara assessed her opponent. The creature stood 4 meters tall, with armored plates covering vital areas and multiple clawed appendages ending in natural weapons. Its eyes, 6 of them, arranged in a circle around its armored head, tracked her movements with terrifying intelligence. "The rules are simple," Kavex announced from his elevated position. "Subdue the beast without killing it. Demonstrate dominance, not destruction." "And if I refuse?" Alara asked, although she already knew the answer. "Then negotiations end," the Warlord replied simply. "And we proceed to the Terran systems with our fleets." Dr. Nasser stepped forward. "Commander, the nanites aren't designed for this kind of prolonged combat. Your system could." "I understand the risks, Doctor," she interrupted. Then to Kavex, "I'll need one thing." The Warlord tilted his massive head questioningly. "Lieutenant Blackwood's help," she said. "On my world, we hunt in packs." A murmur rippled through the gathered Dravens. Kaveks considered for a moment, then nodded. Interesting. Show us how humans hunt. Blackwood removed his diplomatic jacket. The former Special Forces operator's physique was impressive even by human standards. Just like the Capella 6 extraction, he asked quietly. With less shooting and more showing off, Ilara confirmed. They descended into the pit together. The carver pawed the ground, bioluminescent patterns pulsing with anticipation. The metallic tang of alien pheromones filled the air as the creature sensed new prey. Its eyes are its weakness, Ilara murmured. Too many inputs to process simultaneously. Blackwood nodded, split its attention. They circled in opposite directions. The carver's head swiveled, tracking both humans. When it lunged toward Blackwood, Ilara darted in from behind, slapping its flank hard before dancing away. The creature whirled with surprising speed, nearly catching her with a sweeping claw. For several minutes, they maintained this deadly dance, drawing roars of appreciation from the Draven audience. The nanites in Ilara's bloodstream worked overtime, enhancing her reflexes and strength while feeding her tactical data on the creature's movement patterns. But the carver was learning. Each attack came closer to connecting. After a particularly narrow dodge, Ilara felt the nanites heating her blood as they struggled to maintain her enhanced state. Time to end this, she called to Blackwood. They executed a maneuver practiced in countless combat simulations, though never against an alien apex predator. Blackwood drew the creature's attention with a feint toward its front, while Ilara used her nanite-enhanced strength to leap onto its back. The carver bucked violently, nearly dislodging her. She clung to the ridged armor plates, working her way toward the creature's head. Its skin secreted a caustic substance that began burning through her uniform sleeves. With a final surge of strength, she reached the cluster of eyes and pressed her palms against two of them. The nanites in her system transferred to the creature's sensitive optical tissues, delivering a carefully calibrated electrical surge. The carver froze, then slowly, deliberately lowered itself to the ground. The electrical stimulation had triggered a neurological response similar to submission behaviors in its species. Ilara stood on the creature's now passive head, her uniform torn and skin blistered from its secretions. Blood trickled from her nose, a warning sign that the nanites were pushing her body beyond safe limits. The chamber fell silent. Then Kavek stood, all 6 arms extended in what the human's translators identified as a gesture of respect. The human envoy has passed the trial of dominion, he announced. Never before has an off-worlder subdued a carver with such unexpected methods. Ilara met his four-eyed gaze steadily, despite the exhaustion threatening to overwhelm her. Now, Warlord, shall we negotiate as equals? Kavex descended from his platform and approached the edge of the pit. Come, Commander Thorn. We have much to discuss about the future of our species in this galaxy. As servants helped Ilara and Blackwood from the pit, Dr. Nasser whispered urgently, "The nanites are breaking down. You need medical attention immediately." Ilara nodded imperceptibly. After the negotiation, "We're too close now." She followed Kavex toward his private chambers, every step requiring conscious effort as the nanites' enhancement began to fade. This would be the most dangerous part of the mission, negotiating humanity's place in the galaxy while her strength was failing. In Kavex's private war chamber, holographic displays showed the vast expanse of Draven-controlled space alongside the territories still held by the Galactic Conclave. Earth and its colonies appeared as a small cluster at the edge of one spiral arm, seemingly insignificant, yet now commanding the Warlord's full attention. Ilara fought to maintain focus as the nanites in her system reached critical depletion. Dr. Nasser had surreptitiously administered stabilizers, but they were merely delaying the inevitable crash. She had perhaps an hour of enhanced function remaining. "Your demonstration was impressive," Kavek said, manipulating the holographic display with 4 of his arms, while the other 2 remained poised in what Ilara now recognized as a posture of respect. But survival against a carver does not prove humanity can withstand the hegemony. "We didn't come to prove we could defeat you," Ilara replied, her voice steady despite her internal struggle. We came to show why you shouldn't want to fight us at all. The Warlord's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture of intrigue. Explain. Alara approached the holographic display and expanded the view to show the entire galaxy. The conclave species evolved in hospitable environments. When threatened, they developed technology, not biological adaptations. Humans evolved differently. She pulled up data the diplomatic team had prepared. Earth's history of natural disasters, mass extinctions, and the harsh conditions that shaped human evolution. Our planet tried to kill us countless times. We survived through adaptation and sheer stubborn will. When we faced extinction, we didn't just endure, we thrived. Kavex studied the data. Many species claimed similar origins. But how many deliberately enhanced themselves? Alara asked, revealing the final piece of their strategy. She displayed information about the Promethean nanites, showing their capability to adapt to any threat in real time. The technology allowing me to match a Draven in combat is just the beginning. Every human soldier could carry these adaptations, modified to counter specific Draven advantages. It was a calculated risk. Revealing their technological ace might deter the Dravens or make humanity a priority target. But Alara was betting on the Warlord's pragmatism. You would fight to the last human, Kavex observed. And each fallen human would provide data to make the survivors stronger against you, Alara confirmed. We call it failing forward. Each defeat teaches us how to win eventually. The chamber fell silent as the Warlord processed this information. Finally, he made a gesture Alara's translators couldn't interpret. The hegemony does not seek Pyrrhic victories, he said. We conquer to strengthen ourselves with new worlds and resources. A protracted conflict with adaptive opponents serves no purpose. Alara sensed the opening. Then perhaps we can offer an alternative that benefits both our species. For the next hour, as the nanites in her system gradually failed, Alara outlined a proposal. Humanity would serve as intermediaries between the hegemony and the conclave, negotiating terms that would grant the Dravens the resources and territory they sought without the costly occupation of hostile worlds. In exchange, Earth would receive advanced technology and protection. Your species thinks differently than the conclave races, Kavex acknowledged. They speak of principles and morality. You speak of practical solutions and mutual benefit. We understand predators, Alara said. We were predators ourselves before we were diplomats. The Warlord made a sound that the translators interpreted as laughter. Indeed, perhaps this is why you succeed where the conclave failed. As they finalized the framework for an historic agreement, one that would reshape galactic politics for centuries to come, Alara felt the last of the nanites shutting down. Pain flooded her system as the enhancements faded, but she maintained her composure through sheer force of will. When the meeting concluded, Kavex escorted the human delegation back to their vessel personally, an unprecedented honor that signaled to all Dravens the new status of humanity in their eyes. You fought well, Commander Thorn, the Warlord said as they reached the airlock. Few beings have earned my respect so thoroughly. Remember that respect when you deal with other humans, she replied. We're all cut from the same resilient cloth. Only when the airlock sealed behind them did Alara finally collapse. Her team rushed her to the medical bay as their vessel disengaged from the Draven flagship. Nanite cascading failure, Dr. Nasser reported grimly. System shock imminent. Through waves of pain, Alara smiled. Worth it, she whispered. Tell Earth, the wolves respect us now. As their ship accelerated away from the inevitable dominion, the galaxy's balance of power had already begun to shift. The conclave would survive, the hegemony would gain what it truly sought without unnecessary bloodshed, and humanity, the upstart species that no one had taken seriously, had just become the pivotal force in galactic diplomacy. All because one human envoy had proven that sometimes the most powerful weapon isn't strength or technology, but the uniquely human ability to find common ground with even the most fearsome predators in the cosmos. In the weeks that followed, as Alara recovered from the nanite procedure that had nearly killed her, peace accords were established throughout contested systems. The Dravens withdrew from worlds where occupation was proving costly, focusing instead on resource-rich, uninhabited planets that humans helped them identify. Commander Alara Thorn would go down in history not just as the diplomat who faced down the galaxy's most feared warlord, but as the architect of a new galactic order, one where humanity's greatest strength proved to be not its weapons or technology, but its fundamental understanding of what drives all intelligent life, the desire not just to survive, but to thrive. And across the stars, species that had dismissed humans as primitive newcomers now watched with newfound respect and not a little fear. The galaxy would never be the same again.